Good afternoon. I watched Amy peel an orange. I wasn't expecting to be recording so quick, but anyway, welcome to Coffee with Dave on Pray for America. I'm recording this because Amy and I will not be here tonight, and I feel like it's important to have something a schedule. So, um, something different. First, a couple of things we're doing here. One is Freedom Fest. It's a Christian crosswalk here in Corden from a Christian bookstore here in town called I'm lost for words. God's Earthly Creations. Thanks, Amy. And we're gonna meet up about 2, have a short devotional, um, a prayer, and we're gonna be walking from the bookstore to Bicentennial Park, where we're gonna have a concert. Concert will be with Chris Carter. He's a local worship pastor at a local church here. Um, Josh Howard and the Peacemakers. Great people, great sound, great. Never met these guys before my life, but I tell you, I probably burnt their EP up listening to it. Great people, and then I'm Ragamuffin Sons at the end, and y'all know Dave Meek, obviously. Been following pages any particular time. And this is a premiere week for a movie called America's Prayer. Um, Guys, this movie's the real deal. It's oh, wow. It's not going to be released at theaters. It's not going to be released on Netflix. It's not going to be released anywhere except here on the internet. And as when I say that, it's on being able to be sent to churches and your youth groups and your organizations and so forth. So if you're interested in having this movie, please contact us or Chris Robinson, and we'll make sure it happens. Um, a few years ago, I kind of touched on this subject we'll be talking about tonight. And this week, as I was really praying and meditating and asking God what the topic would be, I put on my heart, hey, not how do we get it, but how we use it. There's a passage in the Bible that comes to my mind that's so clear that I'm going to see if I can share this, if I can figure out how to do this as I talk to you guys. But we can read it. We can read it together. And this is Matthew 14, 22 through 23, 22 through 33. This is right after Jesus fed to 5,000 people, 5,000 men, not counting women and children. I think that's important because the Bible says he fed 5,000 men, not counting the kids, not counting the wives. Some estimates are up to 7, 8, 9, 10,000 people. But immediately Jesus made the disciples get into a boat and go ahead of him to the other side, the Sea of Galilee, while he dismissed the crowd. After he dismissed them, he went up on the mountainside by himself to pray. Later that night, he was there alone, and the boat was already a considerable distance from land, buffered by the waves because the wind was against it. Keep in mind, they didn't have motors back then; they had rowboats, and so that as they're fighting the rowboat, rowing the boat against the wind, um, stormy night, waves crashing. And shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them, walking on the lake, walking on the sea. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake or the sea, they were terrified. It's a ghost, they said, cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, take courage. It is I. Do not be afraid. Lord, if it's you, Peter replied, tell me to come to you on the water. So Jesus said, come. Then Peter got out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus. And when he saw the wind, he was afraid and began to sink and cried out, Lord, save me. Immediately, Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. You of little faith, he said, why do you doubt? And when they climbed into the boat, the wind died down. Then those who were in the boat worshiped him, saying, truly, you are the Son of God. Now, these disciples, man, these disciples saw every miracle that Jesus did. They were there. They were with him. And uh, Peter, like, man, if it's you, tell him to come to you. These guys saw the miracles. They just witnessed the biggest miracle with 9, 8, 7,000 people being fed from a snack pack, from a couple of fish and a couple of loaves of bread. They saw this miracle. They had enough leftovers for a storehouse to fill the storehouse. Remember a few years ago when we fed the homeless in North Carolina? We had 150 plates of barbecue. And we gave out roughly 240, 250 plates of barbecue. Now you're saying, David, how can that be? You had 150 plates. How can you give 100 more than what you had? Because we saw a miracle that day. And that miracle so great, we had enough barbecue left over to feed about 130 people after we fed our homeless. After we did our ministry that God put us on our hearts to do that day, we were able to feed, I'm guessing 100, 130 people afterward. We had that much barbecue left over, and we should have been out. But here's the disciples just seeing something like that, seeing something bigger than that. And they got scared in their storm. My friends, how many times do we have a storm in our life? How many times we have a bill due? I'm looking at 2 bills on my desk right now. And we see what we have coming in, we see what we have going out in this day and age, in this economy like it is. Sometimes you don't know how to make ends meet. Sometimes we don't know how we're going to make it. And we start to panic. We start to worry, and we start to stress, and we start to, give me, but getting short fused. And as our storm is crashing around us, Jesus is saying, you, me, little faith. When the times are good, the times are great, and the times are super, when the money's flowing well and all the babies are feeling good and everybody's getting along, it's easy to be a Christian then. But when the storm comes against you, is it just as easy? In the book of Job, it tells us how the devil And God bartering back and forth. And the devil made a comment, man, your guy Job, man, he's doing pretty good. Has he been tested? And God said, you can test him, but you can't touch him. And in those tests, Job lost his kids. Job was the wealthiest man in the area at the time. All of his kids were killed. All of his cattle was gone. Everything he had was gone. And here's Job in the good times, just praising God. But in the bad times, if you read the book of Job, it'll tell you he tore his clothes off, sat in the middle of his floor, and still worshiped God. Because of that, everything came back to him. Yeah, and more abundantly at that. My friends, the story in Matthew tells us to keep our eyes on God, to keep our faith in Him, regardless of what you're going through, regardless what's happening in your life, regardless of where you're at. To keep our eyes on God. And that's hard. I mean, I'm gonna tell you, that's hard. Now I feel like I can pull back the cover a little bit, peel back the onion if you would. You know, it's hard when you know someone who's hungry and you don't feel you can help them. It's hard when you see someone struggling and your man suit, as Amy says, your earthly mind says, if I help that person, I'm going to be that person. It's hard. To look at things with a human eye. And man, these waves are too deep. Storms too. What's easy to do this? These storms are too tight or too rough. The I just can't do it. But Jesus says, "Ye of little faith." He's given us everything. There's nothing in this world that Jesus hasn't given us. I drove a truck for 20 years. Everybody says that anything you touch, anything you use, anything you smell, anything that you need for life comes on the back of, comes from a truck. And that's true for the most part. Now, you build a house, go to the store, buy lumber, it comes to you by truck. Get the lumber mill by truck. Go to the store, buy groceries, food gets from the plant to the store by truck. But I can't help but think, and I can't help but say that if God didn't create the heavens and earth, if God didn't create things that He said He created, if God didn't give us light and dark, and sea and dry ground, all the animals, all the intelligence, everything that we have, there would be nothing else. But to say that He's given us everything literally means everything. And if he tells us, I came to give you life and give you life more abundantly, then why do we struggle? And I dare to say it, ye have little faith. And it's hard. I'm telling you, it's hard when you walk into your kitchen and open a refrigerator, nothing's in it. It's hard when you open up your cabinet and there's nothing in it. I can't say I've been there. I know it's hard. But it's even worse than that when you open up your heart and nothing's in it. As we're coming into these days in this time of uncertainty in this country, of uncertainty in this world, as the storms get big around us, as we feel our waves crashing, have faith and trust Him. We were talking the other day, and if you have your faith in God, if you put your faith in Jesus Christ, then the things that are happening around us in this world is laughable. If you put your faith in the creator of the beginning and the creator of the end, if you put your faith in the one who controls it all, you have nothing to worry about. Because just like God told the devil, you can test him, you can't touch him. God's saying that about us today. Keep your faith. Keep your faith in him and your eyes on him. And know he said, do not be dismayed. Do not be misunderstood. Do not be confused. Do not be anything but keeping your faith in me and know I am your God. Guys, I hope this makes sense. Hope this helps somebody. But know that we love you. We appreciate you. And as always, we thank God for his scars because his scars give ours a meaning.